It's been a minute, but I'm going to review this one. This is the IPEVO Totem 360 today. And well, one of the issues with me reviewing this is really meant for sort of large groups around a table, around a conference table. And I haven't been doing much of that recently. I haven't been doing much of that because I've actually taken a bit of a step back from my job, and I'm now just 3 days a week at work and I'm 2 days at home making these videos, and I'm not having big online meetings at home at the minute, and I'm doing that less and less at school as well. What I'm going to do instead is I'm actually going to lend this out to folks at work, and I'm going to see how they get along with it. So I will be back with some opinions on these meeting room cameras as they've been used by my colleagues at school. And of course I could try with maybe family members around the house, but again, I'm always here at home on my own and they're out, so I can't really test it out in that kind of fake meeting room environment either. But I have been thinking about what else can you do with these things, and so I thought about, well, okay, what about sort of showcasing? And well, I've got something to show you, which, okay, could be a use, could be something that you might want to actually showcase in 360 degrees, a building project, for instance. And I'm aware that that environment is going to be some of the harshest environments to test out its cameras and its microphones as well. So let's go and I'll show you what I mean. So here we go. This is our sort of building site. This is our new extension on our home. It's way brighter here. And yeah, I figure you'll probably already be able to hear on this microphone. This is the expensive Rode Wireless Pro, a dedicated microphone, and I bet you can hear that echo just on that. Okay, so I'm going to get the Totem 360 set up in the middle here. One of the cons of this, I can tell you, is that you do have to have external power. But it is a 360 degree camera. 360. And that's what I was saying before, a bit of noise to test out things like noise cancellation. So it isn't just a single USB-C like some of the other IPEVO cameras that I've been testing. It's harder to power 4 cameras separately, and the speakerphone, so it's got a speaker and microphone built into it. You can't do that all off a single USB power cable. So power cable extension, and that is one con that you're going to have to really think about. Do you have power to the middle of your conference table? If you haven't got that organized, then that's going to become a bit of a difficult situation. Absolutely ideal that there's some work going on. But it is easy to use, and it should require no plugging of any software. It should just be a case of plugging in the USB-C, and it does everything on board the IPEVO camera. There is some software that you can get for it to give you a bit of extra control, but I would recommend, I think most people just want to be able to just use it as it is. Of course, an LCD screen that I can barely see in this room because it is so bright in here. That's all its maximum brightness, and it's reasonably difficult to see. So I'm just going to open up the Windows camera app, and I'm just going to access it through that. And yeah, single button is on. It is very easy to use, which I think is important because the people in the meeting, they don't want to be messing around with the technical specs. Okay, powering up. There we are. So I've switched to the IPEVO. Now I'm standing up, so it's not quite the right height for me, but it does also have a ordinary tripod fed in the bottom, so that's really good. It's a 360 degree camera, and it will cost less than a lot of the rivals, but at table height, it should be good for just capturing any individual around that single table. There's a volume control on there for its own speakerphone, and a yellow button to select the different framing modes. I wonder if it's struggling with me because I'm not sitting down, it can't quite see my face. So right now it's on, I think, presentation mode. So let's check that. And this is surround mode, which has just a sort of permanent 360 of whatever you're looking at. So it gives a picture of everyone around the table at all times. I wonder how it handles me in the shadow or in the very bright sunlight. And that's what I mean, that's a pretty darn stern test for any camera at all. So whilst I said it was very easy to use, I just had an issue with the USB cable that was actually supplied with it. So surprisingly enough, the USB-C to C cable did not work very well, but this USB-C to A cable does seem to be working just fine. So let's look at the different modes we've got, perhaps just a faulty cable. So this is the hybrid learning mode. So it's designed to capture one speaker on one side of the room and also take a capture of the audience as well. So this is quite a useful thing if you're thinking of presentations, this being a very useful camera for that. What I'm really interested in, what you should be listening out for, is how good is that audio and how good is it for tracking a speaker which is actually moving around the room. There are 4 microphones as well as 4 cameras on the IPEVO 360. So I put it on presentation mode to really try out these microphones, and it should do a good job of kind of trying to detect which direction I'm coming from and prioritize the microphones on those sides. So there are actually 4 microphones on each corner of the Totem 360. So as I come around, it shouldn't really lose me. It should be doing a good job of tracking my voice, if that makes sense. This is a really demanding kind of space. There's a lot of noise. Somebody's doing some building work outside, and it's really echoey as well. So that's an interesting kind of test for it. I'm quite far away from it now, and previously I was recording on my lav mic. That's what you listen to. It's really close to my voice, so that tends to give you, even in a difficult situation like this for audio, tends to give you better sound. But of course, in a meeting room or in a hybrid learning environment when you're presenting, you want to know that you're doing a good job of capturing audio that you can actually hear and you can actually understand what's being said. That's all that really matters. It doesn't need to be super crisp. And it tends to be the further away from the device, the harder that is. So I'm going to actually move this even further back in the room now, all the way back to this corner, and hopefully it's still doing a good job of actually tracking me as I come around. And that presentation mode is actually doing a good job of keeping me in view as well, keeping me in frame as well. Interesting, right? Then presentation mode, and that is just going to stick with one side, whichever side it sees a person. So hopefully when I sit over in this corner, it will recognize me and it will keep me in the center of the frame. And it will do a good job of auto tracking and actually scaling in, so it gives a good capture of me. If I walk to the far side, at any angle, even though I'm sort of pointed at the corner, which doesn't have any cameras on it, then it should be still doing a good job of keeping me in the frame. Then there's the conferencing mode, which should sort of highlight the person speaking at any given moment, but also give you a good view of anyone else around the table as well. Very clever. And all these are just single presses on the yellow button here to change between the modes. The surround mode is exactly what it says. It just stays fixed. It shows you everybody at any given time. And then we're back to that hybrid learning mode. What I'll do is I'll stand over here and deliver my pros and cons. I'll use the presentation mode. So as I said, very easy to use. It's got a 360-degree camera for less than you'd actually pay from some of the meeting room rivals. It's a built-in speaker and those noise-cancelling microphones. And it's got various modes, for instance, the present, the highlight, and the speaker, etc. And it is just plug and play. I think I got unlucky with a faulty USB-C cable there. Negative points, well, it does need external power, so you are going to need to source that into the center of your meeting room. And it is a lower quality camera, I think, than other cameras, other 360-degree cameras that you can buy. Not specifically meeting room cameras, but for instance, the Insta360s of the world or the GoPros give you really nice, sharp, crisp 4K footage, which this isn't going to really do. These are 4 inexpensive cameras combined into one inexpensive product. It's not cheap, of course, but it is good value. I would suggest this is an excellent choice for an easy meeting room solution that can live in the middle of your conferencing table, but it isn't for my purposes, for instance, content creation. Of course, there's the noise cancelling microphones, and you've heard, I don't know if you heard, the gentleman mixing cement next door. And so this should be a good test out for those noise cancelling things. And it's also a very echoey room that we're in, with nothing but bare glass and bare walls. So how is it dealing with that? Well, you can be the judge of that. And I brought it out into here, just a kind of random place in my half-built extension, just because this is a really horrible environment for sound. And I'm currently speaking to you on the IPEVO Totem 360, and it's doing a good job of tracking me. I'm just going to use that as the video feed, and I'm going to plug in